Okay, it is 6 o'clock, and I will call this March 18th meeting of the Andalusia City Council to order. And I'll call on Councilman Wells to lead us in the prayer and pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Lord, we rest upon your promises, and your word tells us to trust in the Lord and with all our heart, and to lean not on our own understanding. In all our ways we need to acknowledge him, and he will direct our path. Father, we need your direction.
Yes.
Now as we lead and discuss our city's business, help us to let the words of our mouths and the meditations of our heart be acceptable in your sight. O Lord, you are our strength and our Redeemer. Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. We do have some guests, and we're always pleased to have guests join us. Remind everyone that we meet on the first and third Tuesday of each month, with the workshop starting at 5:30 and the business session starting at 6 o'clock. The public is invited, and we welcome everyone to come and be a part of city government. We have the first item of business tonight is to approve the minutes of the meeting held on March the 4th.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve the minutes of March the 4th.
All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
I second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes of March the 4th. Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Any opposed? And that is carried. Thank you for that. No unfinished business. Under new business, we have to consider tonight a human resource, get the correct number here, Human Resource 2014-002 that provides for personnel changes for the Andalusia Police Department. This is, in effect, sort of a reorganization, so to speak, of the Andalusia Police Department personnel alignment. That is, with the chief being at the top and the assistant chief under him, and then you've got the various levels of officers under them and who reports to whom and all that. And they've done quite a bit of realigning to try to get more coverage for our city and better service to our people in the community. And we feel like I've spent quite a bit of time looking at this, and I know the council has as well. And what this resolution does is to approve this proposed new alignment for the Andalusia Police Department. We will need to take action on that tonight if you so see fit to. We need a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Human Resources Amendment Request 2014-002, the personnel changes for the police department.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, a motion and a second to adopt the resolution, which is set out in detail with your agenda there. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of adopting the resolution, please indicate by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Same sign. Thank you. And that carries, and that will be put into effect immediately. Next item of business is to consider resolution number 2014-03, which is a resolution basically stating the city's support of the Forever Wild designation for trail project. What this is an effort to gain title to and access to and improvements of the abandoned railroad. Well, it's not abandoned. The railroad track has been removed from the railroad bed. The railroad right-of-way is still owned by the railroad, and there's an effort in place to try to gain title to that, develop it, and open it as a public trail that would extend from East Andalusia there, about where the cold storage place is on the east side of town, all the way over to Geneva, I believe is correct. So it's a pretty good little distance involved there. And this is a long process. This does not obligate the city to any kind of spending in support of this at this point. It's just simply a statement that we have an interest in it, and because part of it lies in our city and a good portion of it lies in our county. And Forever Wild is going to be approached about taking the leadership and trying to gain title to this property so that it can be developed. And basically what this resolution does is just expresses our support for that effort. So we need a motion and a second if you choose to adopt the resolution.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for 2014-3 Forever Wild designation for the trail project.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Second by Mr. Mount. All right, any further discussion? All in favor of adopting the resolution, please indicate by raising your right hand. And I believe that is unanimous. Thank you for that. We'll have the first reading tonight of an ordinance 2014-02, which will be the back-to-school sales tax holiday that's set for August. I believe it's August the 1st and 3rd, which would be the first weekend in August. This is the traditional time when the state removes the sales tax, and the county has been following suit, and the city has been following suit on the purchase of certain items for back-to-school supplies for our children as they go back to school. So tonight will be just the first reading of that. Since it is an ordinance, we can't adopt it unless we suspend the rules. There's no reason to do that tonight, so we'll just have the first reading and take up the vote on that at either the next council meeting or another council meeting before the deadline to send this in to the state of Alabama. We had a report upstairs from our superintendent of schools on a program that they're working on, and I'm not going to make any announcements about that tonight except to say it's something I'm very excited about, something I think that the community can get involved with, and will make a tremendous improvement, and I would say a lot of help for some students that need the kind of help that this program is going to provide. So we'll wait later to make a public announcement about that. But the superintendent did discuss it with us at workshop. We don't have any other business to take action on. I will announce that this year and into next year is the 100th birthday of this building that we're seated in right now. And it's a pretty important date, I think. We're sitting here using this now as a gorgeous city hall, but for 90 years, or almost 90 years, it was used as a school building, and still serving our community well. So we want to recognize that and acknowledge that, and we're going to ask the T&R committee to look at that. Ms. Griffin to make some plans to plan a celebration, birthday celebration for the building itself, and we'll look forward for that happening in the future. I do want to report a little bit on the trip, the industrial recruitment trip that we just completed and got back from South Korea on. We spent a week over there. We were able to get a memorandum of understanding on an expansion of Sehae-sung that's located in our industrial park. It will not mean that many new jobs, 10 to 15. Those new jobs will be important to those 10 to 15 people that get them, I'll guarantee you that. But there also will be a significant investment by Sehae-sung in new equipment, an additional equipment will be located at that site. We anticipate that there will be other expansions that will follow on this one at a later date. We're not prepared and ready to make that announcement yet because it's not yet here, but part of the reason for making that trip was to make sure that we kept cemented our relationship good with the Sehae-sung leadership. We met with other prospects while we were there. In fact, we met with a different prospect every day every business day that we were there. and had some very, very good reception from people. And every person that every group that we met with, every business that we met with, has an interest in Andalusia, and have already been to Andalusia. And one of the things about recruiting industry from other countries, particularly countries from the southeastern part of the globe, Southeast Asia, or the Asian Rim, is that as part of their culture, and not just part of their culture, it's part of everybody's culture. They're not going to do business with folks that they don't know, and they're not going to do business with people that they don't have confidence in and have trust in, and have a good working relationship with. So to build that kind of relationship, you have to go see them, and you have to spend time with them in their community, and that's what we were doing for a week. And I think it's very successful, and we look forward to that trip bearing some fruit out in the future. I want to announce that we have 2 openings on the Tourism Relocation Committee, so if you have an interest in that, you need to come let us know about that, give us your name. We did have some questions that were sent to us by the 2nd grade at Andalusia Elementary School, and they asked me if I would read these. The questions are actually addressed to the mayor and council members. So I'm going to read the question, and then I'm going to give my short answer to it, and if any of you wish to add to it, you're certainly welcome to do that. And there are 7 questions here, so we'll try to get through these. Number 1, what are your normal responsibilities for a day's work? Well, mine are, as the mayor is basically the chief CEO of the city of Andalusia, to make sure that all the jobs get done, that all the work gets done, that all the projects that we're working on are being attended to. It's very complex, it's very complicated, and in addition to that, my responsibilities include trying to see and look into the future to see where do we want to be a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, and setting in motion now plans to help us get there and achieve those goals. So my job is kind of twofold. One is the everyday operations of the city to make sure that they're done, answer complaints, take suggestions from the public, be out in the public, make myself available to be talked to. And then the other part of that is the looking out and leading where we're going to go in the future. And that's done not only by me, but by members of this council. So I would put the same question to each of you if you want to elaborate beyond what I've said here.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Mayor, I would say that, there are 5 city council people, and each one of us represents a certain district. But, I don't look at it like we just represent those people. We represent all of Andalusia.
That's right.
Of course, if somebody in my district calls or requests something or whatever, I'm prone to help them over anybody else. But I think we as a city council recognize that we are responsible to all citizens in Andalusia, not just those in our district.
Okay? Any of you others have one?
Let me add to that. I think he said it very well, but there's a responsibility not only to the citizens of Andalusia, but we have a lot of outlying areas that when we make decisions, it affects those that coming into the city. It's important that the River Falls, the Red Levels, the Carolinas, or whatever else may be, are happy doing what we do in Andalusia, and we'd make decisions based on what's not only good for us, which we firsthand, but it should be good for all the remaining people in the area. So just because you don't live in Andalusia doesn't mean you shouldn't benefit from Andalusia.
Exactly. The second part of that question, number 1, is how difficult is it to run a city and make sure the money is being well spent? Well, it's a difficult job. We're talking about a city budget around $14 million and a utility budget significantly more than that. So it's a difficult job, it's a hard job, but I've got a lot of good help. We've got a great staff here at the City Hall and out in the other city offices. And we have a great city council that gives me lots of advice and help, and I call on them quite often. I think they will tell you that, and I'm always happy to have their input into issues that come before us on a day-to-day basis. And you'd be surprised, this council, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, I hope you wouldn't be surprised, this council works really well together. And we don't mind picking up the phone or getting in the car and go visiting each other to talk about issues that come before the city and problems that we have to deal with. And so whenever we make a decision, or whenever I make a decision, I try to make one based upon not just what I think ought to be done, but what I think the staff can help me with, and get their input, and I also get the input from the city council, and I get the input from the citizens as well, because all that's important. Anyone want to add to that? Okay. And then they say, how do you make all those decisions? Well, you know, some of the decisions are kind of routine. You just every day I probably make 30 or 40 decisions every day. They're just routine decisions. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but a lot of the decisions we make are big decisions. They're important, and they take a lot of time. So we make very few decisions of that sort in short fashion. In other words, we spend a lot of time looking at issues, researching them, getting advice from each other, getting advice from the public, getting advice from the citizens, getting advice from experts, getting advice from staff, getting advice from legal counsel. Sometimes we get advice from the legal municipalities. Sometimes I talk to other mayors and get their advice on how to handle certain issues. So most of the decisions we make are routine, but a lot of the decisions are also of the type that you spend a lot of time on before you make that decision.
That is so true, but I'm going to say this too as well. Oftentimes we're stuck right in the middle of decision making. I mean, you got to protect the city, and plus you got to protect the citizens as well. And oftentimes the citizens don't realize that we are governed by laws, certain laws that are handed down from the federal government as well as state government that we can't do. And so that's one thing I think citizens have a hard time understanding at times. But for us being a employee of the city, it's a demanding work. And I wish everyone would at some point run for mayor or council to see how this work is done. And
well, now you done gone too far now, Mr. Scott.
But it certainly is a privilege to be able to serve your city and its people.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to confirm something that you said, that I want the public to know that just because we stand down here and raise our hands when something is brought before us and we agree on it, and it is not that it hadn't been a lot of background, a lot of study, a lot of investigation, conversations, whatever you want to talk about, and maybe weeks of it, maybe months of it, but it's not anything that we came in here and somebody read out over here in a minute. It's not as easy as just representing the people by raising your hand.
That's right.
To represent the people, you've had to study, you've had to make sure you made the right decision, do like the mayor said, find out what the people think and represent the people. Not, sometimes you make your own judgment, but most of the time it's made because you've done your research.
Yes, and that's exactly right, Mr. Wells, and I would say one more thing about that. Sometimes the folks don't understand that you can't always do what they want to do, and Councilman Sconyers kind of touched on that, because we are a creature of statute. When I say we, I'm talking about the city of Andalusia is a creature of statute, of laws, and a lot of decisions we make are predetermined for us. We have to make them according to what the law says we have to do. So sometimes those decisions aren't just something that we decide on what we want to do and go do it. We do it a certain way because the law requires us to do that. And if we didn't do that, then we'd be in lawsuits all the time. And that's something I'm very proud of. We don't have any long-term lawsuits pending against this city. And it's because we try to make the right decision the first time. Second question, what plans do you have to increase the choices of nice restaurants? Well, I've got all kind of plans to do that. that's something that folks are always asking, what kind of new restaurant are we gonna get soon? We're always looking and trying to entice new restaurants to town, but we have to remember, and those who asked the question, I appreciate the question, but we also have to remember, we're a town of 10,000 people. We're a county of 38,000 people. We're a rural part of the state. And there are certain kinds of restaurants that we probably never will get in Andalusia, Alabama, simply because we don't meet up with those companies' demographic requirements. A lot of the restaurants that folks say we'd like to have in Andalusia are simply not going to come here because we don't have enough folks to support them. I mean, it's just that simple. So it's our job to generate more people and more demand and more folks to come here, and when we get that happening, then we'll get more restaurants. Anybody want to expand on that at all?
Right on.
Okay, third question is, could we have a new mall? Yes is the simple answer to that, but a lot of things would have to happen. And the city doesn't build malls. The city doesn't build stores for the most part. We work with business people and investors who do that. And the city doesn't own the mall. The mall is owned by a private person or private company. And it's up to them to make improvements to their property. Now, there are certain things that we can require to be done if it reaches a safety issue. In other words, if it's a health or safety issue, we can step in and make things occur. But by and large, that is private enterprise, private business that develops new businesses in our city. Again, we're always there trying to help, we're trying to accommodate, we're trying to give incentives sometimes when that's called for under certain circumstances. But by and large, a new mall or improvements to the one we have to be made by the owners of that mall. Any add-ons to that? All right, fourth question, would it be possible to get a place for a small animal park? Yes, that's something that we've talked about in the past, and maybe something we look at in the not too distant future, but we've got some priorities right now that we're kind of hanging with until we get South 3 Knott Street, the matching funds set on that and all that, and things like that major project. Some of these smaller projects kind of have to take a back seat until we make sure that we're in good financial position to move forward with the big projects. Number 5, would it be possible to have a water park or splash park in our city? The answer to that is also yes. And that again is one of those projects that will have to sort of take a back seat until we get this big project that we're working on right now, which is South 3 Knott Street. So towards maybe the last year of this administration, this fourth year of this term, there may be some things that we can do along the lines of a splash park or something like that. Anybody want to add anything to that? Okay. Why are they taking up the train tracks? Well, because they own them. That's the simple answer to that. The train company, the railroad company that owns those tracks have discontinued service on that particular track. We still have train service in Andalusia. We still have tracks in Andalusia, but this particular one that you're talking about or asking about, that company is going out of business as far as being in the train business is concerned. So they're removing the tracks, and because they can sell those tracks and make a profit off of, the value, just if nothing else, scrap value for the rail and for the other equipment that it takes to make a train track. 7, is there a possibility that we will get a new theater soon? Yes, there is. Again, that is another project that will have to be driven by private enterprise, by private business people. But I do know that there is a group looking at Andalusia along those lines, and maybe that'll happen. I don't know how soon that will occur, but there is a possibility that will occur. Anybody else want to respond to any of that?
I think those are some good questions, man. I think a lot of those things we've discussed among ourselves as to what we need here in Andalusia, and so let us know why our second graders are really thinking about things. That's good for them and good for the future as well. And so we are just like they are. We want these things to come to fruition, and we want it to happen, and we're gonna do everything in our power to make it happen.
It is a sort of interesting how their questions coincide with things that we're working on. So I think that's a good point. Thank you. We are planning an Andalusia cleanup project in the future. Mr. Mount, would you like to say a word about that?
Thank you, Mayor. We've set aside the enhancement committee, part of the city of Andalusia, has set aside the week of April 27th through May 3rd as citywide cleanup. Now, we're going to try to put the word out. We've got the elementary kids involved by drawing up posters and submitting those posters of slogans or how we should go about helping clean up Andalusia. And if anybody knows, the young people know how to clean up a city, I think. So they're going to present their posters, and we're going to select the winners. We've got a committee that's going to select the winners, and we're going to try to take some of those winning posters and make yard signs out of them and put them all out over Andalusia. Try to encourage people to clean up that week. We're going to have the street department is going to put a truck at the farmer's market during the week, and you can, what trash you pick up or whatever, you can take it to the farmer's market and place it on the truck. We're going to try to furnish you bags. We're trying to encourage all the council members, and I know they're going to follow through, to help or organize cleanup in their district. But it's a citywide cleanup, and that's what we want to promote it as. We want to get everybody on board to clean up Andalusia, and we hope that everybody will get involved.
Okay, anything else to come before the council tonight? Hearing none, we will stand adjourned.